as well. But just to let you know that I'm not doing this alone. Joining me, although virtually this morning, is the one and only Tega Supreme. Tega, good morning to you. Great to have you on the show.
Good morning, Ayo. This is crazy. So let me give you a secret. I am on the road to somewhere. I can't tell you, but I'll tell you the results when we come back. But it has been a mad, interesting weekend. From America all the way with Nikola Jokic and his boys. I don't know why you push for a game seven if you just go to a game seven and falter. So we'll talk about those people in America that were disappointing. Speaking about bottling, let's also talk about what's happening in Italy because Inter
Mm,
Milan had the perfect chance to pull off a double this season and they dropped the ball. We'll talk about them conceding a late goal or a late equalizer to stump their chances of overtaking Napoli this weekend. Also, this weekend, bottling everywhere. In Manchester City, tears.
hmm. Premium tears.
Premium tears are flowing because they also had the chance to at least salvage their season with a trophy, and they didn't. So all these bottlers and more will be coming up in the locker room this morning. But before we do any more talking, Ayokunmi, tell us, how can we be a part of the locker room?
All right, if you want to join in and, of course, talk about bottling this morning, among other things, join us on WhatsApp and on YouTube. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981 is the WhatsApp number. YouTube, you can get your chairs and have a front row seat. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. That is the YouTube link. You can join us there. Leave your comments in the chat box as well. We always look forward to hearing from you. And I will say this, pardon any noises you might hear in the background. As Tega said, she is in transit, but she is joining us this morning. That shows you how much love there is for sports and for the show as well. All right, Tega, let's begin in America, as you mentioned, talking about the NBA. And, the Celtics and the Knicks went head to head, and the Knicks actually came out as victors in that one, and they're heading to their first Eastern Conference final in 25 years. Man.
Yes, 25 years, and the whole of New York is banging. So, first of all, let's just talk about the celebrity lineup. Because when you get to the New York Knicks and you're playing at MSG, it's going to be completely different. So, there was a plethora of stars. They all came out to support the Knicks. I'm like, so all of you, as great as you are, A-list actors, you're supporting the New York Knicks. You didn't see the Lakers. You didn't see perennial winners. You went to support the New York Knicks. But yes, the stars came out on the day, and because the stars came out of the day, perhaps because they came out, they shone so bright for the Boston Celtics. Remember, the Celtics are without Jason
Mm,
Tatum with the
yeah.
injury. And the rest of the cast couldn't do much. Not Derek White, who's a fantastic player. He wasn't able to knock down his usual threes from the spot. Not Jaylen Brown couldn't do anything for the Boston Celtics, and it was just New York Knicks rolling over them from the start of the game to the end of the game. So yes, yet another defending champion cannot defend their title. The Lakers should give us whatever was in their water when they were able to defend their title, but nobody else has been able to do that. So tough one for the Boston Celtics. They'll recover and hopefully they'll come back next year, but this year, totally out of it. Also, speaking about another former champion, it was the Denver Nuggets against OKC Thunders. Now, the MVP of the regular season has not been chosen for this simple reason. Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets and Shea Alexander-Gilgeous of the OKC Thunders are tied on every other point. And so they were waiting for whoever wins this series to determine who will win the MVP.
Mm.
That's how important this series was. They haven't chosen the MVP of the regular season that ended a month ago because they're waiting for this series to end. And it was Shea Gilchrist that showed up on the day. SGA was everywhere. The first quarter was fantastic. Both of them were trading leads. But by the second quarter, the OKC Thunders outscored the Nuggets by 20 points. They opened a 20-point gap.
That's
By the time
wild.
we came out, by the time we came out of halftime, the game was already over. So yes, at the end of the day, it is SGA definitely that has to be the MVP, because even on the night, Nikola Jokic couldn't do his best. So tough one for the Nuggets. They'll have to try again next season. But I think even more importantly, their front office has to do some trades if they're going to compete.
That definitely has to happen. It's getting hotter out there in the NBA plus. We're getting closer to finding out who will be the new NBA Finals champion. I can't wait to figure that one out. Okay, let's leave America right now, Tega, and let's talk about what's going on in Formula One. And your paddy, that's Red Bull's Max Verstappen, took a dominant victory in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, founded on an audacious overtaking move on the first lap. Now that is so Max Verstappen at the
And
end
I'm
of the
telling
day.
you, it was a very Max Verstappen move. At one point, he looked like George Russell was even going to overtake him from his second position, which is where he started on the grid. It was Oscar Piastri that was in pole. It looked like he was going to be overtaken by George Russell, and then he hit the late braking. He hits that late braking at the same time that Piastri also hits his braking, and then he came out of it quickly because Oscar Piastri hit his own because there was a stall, but he hit his because it was planned. And the way he zoomed past Oscar Piastri on the first lap, he didn't look back from then on out. So it was now a question of if McLaren could wrangle out something to be able to get him back in second. Unfortunately,
Mm,
regardless of the pace that their team has, regardless of the pace that their car had, there was no strategy that they could use to overtake Max Verstappen. So Max Verstappen ended up winning the race, but the drama wasn't in front; it was behind. Remember, this was Imola. And Imola is one of the most dramatic causes. Just in case you didn't know, Imola was where they had the accident with Ayrton Senna and we lost him. So it is always known for crashes, and yesterday was no exception. So we had one car stopping in the gravel and another car spinning out and also getting stuck. And it was all those incidents that made Ferrari, who had had a poor qualifying and finished in 11th and 12th, to go all the way up with Lewis Hamilton finishing as high as fourth. He was this
mm.
close to getting the podium, to getting a podium spot. So fantastic strategy by Ferrari to take advantage of all the situations. But um, eventually it was Max Verstappen who won, McLaren in second and third, with Oscar Piastri in second and Norris in third, and Oscar Piastri still leading the Drivers' Championship.
Man, I don't know what's going on in Formula One, but Oscar Piastri definitely needs to be watching his back now right now because this one that Max, has pulled off a victory
Max is
here.
not playing. Oh,
Mm.
Max is not playing. Max is like, I don't care how fast your car is. I know go agree.
And Lando Norris, well, wherever he is doing whatever
No,
it
no.
is that he's doing.
Lando still hasn't gotten with the program because his biggest problem is that he's still friends with Max Verstappen. He's still playing chummy chummy. That's why Oscar Piastri is leading. Oscar Piastri will bring his elbows out and fight anybody. Lando Norris will battle with Max Verstappen and chicken out, or with George Russell and chicken out. But you could never get that with the Australian.
I love the energy. Let's let them keep it going like that. That's what we want. All right, let's head over to the world of tennis. We're heading to Italy in this one, where Carlos Alcaraz ended world number one Yannick Sinner's 26 match winning streak with a 7-6, 7-5, 6-1 win in the Italian Open final. The Sinner playing in his first tournament since a
Uh,
3-month doping ban.
this is the good versus the evil. Okay, I was joking. They're both good, but somehow, Carlos Alcaraz just knows exactly how to battle Yannick Sinner, and so we're always looking forward to this. It's not necessarily about who will win this time; it's about how they will battle it out this time. And unfortunately, for Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz was somehow doing it well on clay. Now, the first set was amazing because um, the first set Alcaraz was a little nervous. He made some errors. If not, the first set would have been as dominant as the second set was. I think there was, remember when I said in the semi-final that Yannick Sinner had that hamstring injury, where
Yeah.
he had Yeah, where he looked like he was struggling with his hamstring. It didn't show up so much, but you could also tell that his movement was a little hindered. And so because his movement was a little hindered, he wasn't able to play his best tennis. However, Carlos Alcaraz's dominance against Yannick Sinner cannot be contested. But what made the second set so bad was that Yannick Sinner couldn't move too well or well enough to defend his own serve. And that's why Carlos Alcaraz completely, outplayed him 6-1 in the second set. But it was a fantastic one. Come and see shot making. Neither guy was giving up. But Yannick Sinner, I think if he's going to win the French Open, he's going to have to find a way to get someone else to beat Carlos Alcaraz. Or to find a new mojo to beat him himself. Anything but cheating would be good.
Definitely. I mean, Alcaraz beating Sinner in the last 4 meetings, that can get into anyone's head easily. Easily. True story. All right. Let's get into the world of football now, Tega, and let's talk about the FA Cup final, where Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner said that patience paid off against Man City in the FA Cup final on Saturday as he celebrated the club's first major trophy. First major trophy. What a year. What a year it has been.
As in, it's been the year of the underdogs. Remember, Bologna won their own trophy, first trophy in 50, is it 50 years or 51 years?
Thereabouts.
Thereabout in Italy. And now it's Crystal Palace. And also remember, Newcastle won the League Cup. It's like if you are, so it's the year of the underdogs, which is.
Let me throw in go ahead Eagles. They won a trophy in Netherlands as well over the weekend. If I'm correct.
Yes. So this is the if you're a big name team, this is perhaps not the year to get to a final. and try to it's perhaps not the year to get into a final and try to flex your muscle, because ultimately the smaller teams are the ones getting to the finals and winning these championships. And so it was Bologna, then it was Newcastle, and now it's Crystal Palace. And I said it, they have found a way to bully their way in this tournament especially, to bully teams into getting to the finals. But the big news here is Manchester City. They weren't direct. They weren't sharp in the final third. And so ultimately, as much as you want to applaud Crystal Palace, you also have to look at Manchester City with the likes of Erling Haaland and Omar Mamouche not playing their best football. Phil Foden hasn't been good all season. And you expected that when there was a moment to win a trophy, he'd rise to the occasion. But even he was questionable. So ultimately, we applaud Crystal Palace for winning. But the Manchester City players will have to look at themselves in the mirror and tell themselves the truth. They were all poor this season. And it has nothing to do with the fact that Rodri was injured. We should stop blaming Rodri, because
at this point,
at this point in time, he's getting too much. You can't blame one player. You're all earning salaries. You're all high level players. We're talking about people that, they would get the ball, play brilliantly, get to the final third, and everything just slows down. One of that, the reason for one of that was that, Crystal Palace set up very well defensively. But also, you have to look at Manchester City. They are supposed to be a team that can play through lines. And they didn't find any lines to play through. With Doku on the field, with Bernardo Silva on the field, at some point Gundogan came on, with Kevin De Bruyne. And you're telling me all those people couldn't find a way to get through the wall of Crystal Palace. Tough one, but yes, they have to look at themselves in the mirror and say they were really poor this season. But for Crystal Palace, what a place to be. They lost one of their best players in Michael Olise, and they still went on to win a trophy. Congratulations to them.
Congratulations to them, Man City. Another season without a trophy in about 9-10 years, and they've lost 2 FA Cup finals in a row. That's not a good look by any stretch of the imagination. All right, let's take our first break of the morning. When we come back in, we'll be talking about one of the major butlers over this weekend, Inter Milan. What were you thinking? That and so much more on the other side. Keep it tuned. The Locker Room will be back in a moment. 98.1. Progress, 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 progress. What can the bank do for you? Jane, 25 years old. She's been having troubles acquiring a loan from her bank.
This is not okay at all. I've been on this queue forever, and you're saying I should fill another form. What's going on?
What can your bank do for you? Meet Frank, 27 years old, held up in traffic and making fruitless transactions.
I was saying the airtime. Electricity charges. It's so difficult making this payment.
Introducing Suffery, a lifestyle digital bank that's designed just for you. With one click, you can make easy and fast payment transactions, pay bills, and even acquire easy loans. Hurry and download the Suffery app on your Play Store. Visit suffery.com for more information. Suffery, borderless banking. Start your day the grown-up way, right here.
What's so smooth breakfast?
Always fresh and highly informative. And we're back. And we're back into the locker room this Monday morning on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. You love music, love live station. We love sports as well. And it's all about great sporting action this morning, talking about what's been going on over the weekend. It's been a weekend full of ups, downs, and such amazing stuff. Tega is with me this morning. Tega, great to have you back in the, on the show. You're muted.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much. Thank you. I'm back. I'm back.
All right,
All
you can
right.
join
So
us.
where were we?
You can. Yes, we were about to talk about Inter, but I also need to let our good people know how they can send their messages in. WhatsApp, YouTube. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. YouTube, we're at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Leave your comments in the chat box. We'll get to your messages as soon as possible. All right, Inter Milan. Now, they missed a chance to go top of the Serie A, heading into the final day as a 90th minute Pedro penalty denied them victory over Lazio. It could have been for them.
It could have just been. Okay, so I would say this. Some people are contesting the penalty thing. So let me just explain. Now, it's not just about the hand hitting the body or the hand being behind the back. Is that you didn't make your body bigger with your hand. And the defender had both hands behind his back. However, he had his elbows literally out. So that made his body bigger. And that's why the penalty was given. So I see some people saying, oh, but he put his hands behind his back. Yes, he put his hands behind his back, and then he had his elbows out wide. And so it's not a natural position, and it made his body bigger. And ultimately, that was why the penalty was given for him. But Inter Milan hadn't played or defended very brilliantly. When you think about what Inter Milan was able to do, get 2 goals. And the first time they scored the goal to take the lead, then they conceded a very cheap goal to Pedri. And Pedro just came off the bench. I think he was sitting on that bench and gauging where the spaces were. Because he came off the bench and then nobody picks him up, and then he puts the ball in the back of the net. They looked for offside, they looked for handball. There was nothing they didn't look for. Eventually, they had to give the goal. And then Inter Milan did the good job of getting back ahead with a goal from Dumfries. And then they gave away a cheap penalty like that. And even after that penalty, there was a ball that came into the 18-yard box. And all the player needed to do was just poke it. And he completely miskicked. And they missed the chance. So yes, Inter Milan will have nobody else to blame but themselves because they struggled. And Napoli was already drawing their own match. They struggled, dropped the 2 points that could have taken them to the top of the table. And now they have to wait to the last day. Now, the last day, though, is important because the last day they go to play against Fabregas Como. And you know how brilliant that side has been. And then Napoli is playing against Cagliari. Now, the good news is that Cagliari is also a tough team. But if you're looking at who has more to lose, it will be Inter Milan because they play Como, but they also have to have an eye out on the final.
Yes, indeed. Mm. The
Or the final of
drama,
the UEFA Champions League in the drama.
the drama in Syria this season. And looking at that game last night, Inter had a last-minute goal struck off for offside. Arnautovic scored a goal there, and then in
No,
the
but that you see again, if Arnautovic hadn't touched that ball, I think the keeper would have saved it, and Arnautovic was offside.
Mm. And also in the Napoli game, there was a shout for a penalty that the VAR review went on for so long before they said no penalty. The drama in Syria this season,
I
oof,
love it. I love it. It's a
love it.
movie. It's real movie magic.
I'm telling you. All right, let's head back into England and talk about what's going on with Arsenal. Their manager, Mikel Arteta, says that he's unsatisfied and upset that Arsenal are finishing another season without a major trophy.
He was unsatisfied and upset last season when they finished second. What's new?
The dates changed. That's what's new.
The date has changed. The good news for Arsenal is that they were able to confirm their Champions League qualification. I'm calling it a confirmation because I'm not sure they would have fallen out of top four. They were able to confirm their Champions League status yesterday against a tough side like Newcastle. Now, I'm sure when Arsenal fans, especially after being knocked out by PSG, so that Arsenal's next fixtures were against Liverpool and Newcastle United, they were like, we are 6 points, we are losing 6 points. But against Liverpool, they were able to come back from 2 goals down to make it 2-2, and could have even tried to push for a goal if, Merino didn't have brain touch and to get that red card. And then against Newcastle, they did well and they were solid defensively. They even had to take off Saliba at some point, and they still were able to keep a clean sheet for David Raya, because remember, he's going for goalkeeper of the season.
Mm.
So they kept another clean sheet for him, and then they were able to get all 3 points against a tough side like Newcastle United. So they'll be happy. Arsenal fans will be happy that they're in Champions League, but yeah, I think they should be very disappointed because this was a season where they could have walked away with the trophy. Just one brilliant performance in the second leg against PSG, and it would have been better. But they fumbled, and here they are. Second position again, like last season. Champions League spot secured like last season, but no real progress because they haven't won any trophies.
Talking about real progress, Tega, some Arsenal fans will tell you that, the team is playing well, the team is challenging and all that. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you challenge on the field and everything, it's all about winning trophies. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ultimately, you have to win trophies. As much as football is about progress and growth, there's no progress here, right? Because this is what they did last season. So where is the progress? For Aston Villa, you'd say there was progress. but for Inter Milan, for Arsenal, how do you say that there's progress? Because this is exactly what happened last season. Second position, no trophies. Where is the progress?
These are the questions. All right, let's leave Arsenal and head into La Liga, where stunning goals from Lamine Yamal and Fermin Lopez were not enough to prevent recently crowned La Liga champions Barcelona losing at home to Villarreal.
I think part of the reason they lost was because I'm sure, I mean, they played their best, but also in the back of their minds, they've already sealed the deal. Do you understand? Why am I
Right.
hustling when I've already sealed the deal? Because if Barcelona were still looking to get the La Liga title, I'm not sure they would have let Villarreal off like that. Remember, Lamine Yamal scored that beautiful. Again, we are still calling it Ian Robbins style of goal. Yes,
Trademark.
because he has trademarked it. Yamin Lamal is just perfecting it. But because they scored that goal and then they went ahead with a Fermin Lopez goal, then they considered the cheap goals that they considered. But when you think about it, if it were Barcelona that were looking for a trophy, it would be, how many goals can you outscore me by? But yesterday, they really did just, I mean, they played and they contested. They didn't want to lose, but it's not the same dogged Barcelona attack that we are used to seeing when they've come back in game after game. And so on that note, that's what we'll have to say, that I guess that they had gotten the present. There was no need to be competing.
at the end of the day.
At
All
the
right.
end of the day.
Okay, let's bring proceedings back to England. Let's talk about Chelsea. Now, they ensured that qualification for the Champions League remains in their own hands as Marco Correa's winner beat Man United 1-0 to climb to fourth in the Premier League.
Yes, this was a brilliant Friday night match. I expected Manchester United to lose all 3 points because think about it. Remember, before the show, I was saying that Manchester United should rest all their players, all their key players.
That did not happen.
Ruben Amorim didn't listen to me. Again, he played his key players and still lost the match. So what was the point in adding more fatigue to your already tired legs? Um, I think ultimately Manchester United can moan and groan about the season, but it was already lost by the time they faced Chelsea. Chelsea's job on the ninth wasn't to be pretty about the goal, was just to get the ball into the back of the net. And it was a hard one. It was a real hard one. Manchester United set up in such a way that it made it harder for them. But Kukurea said no. We have to go to Champions League. We have to attract more players. And so ultimately, Kukurea was able to put the ball in the back of the net when it was necessary. And they came away with all 3 points. For Manchester United, they won't cry too much. Like I said, the season was already bad. I think where the tears will flow is if they go to the Europa final against Tottenham and they don't destroy them. Don't destroy them, just win.
That's that's all that matters.
That's all. Don't destroy anybody, just win by any legal means necessary.
Exactly, man. It's going to be an interesting final day of the season because Chelsea is facing Nottingham Forest. That is going to be a Champions League decider at the end of the day. Great stuff. Looking forward to that one. All right, let me take your messages as we begin to wrap up on the show this morning. A couple have come in. Zikolo says, did you say Crystal Palace won their first major trophy? Suddenly, FA Cup is now a major trophy, but when Arsenal won it, they said it was not. Who are
No,
they that said it was
FA
not?
Cup has always, it is Community Shield that is not a
Eh,
major trophy. You're confusing
eh.
Community Shield and FA Cup.
In any case, it's been
Mhm.
5 years, Zikolo, so I can't remember who said it wasn't a major trophy or not when you guys won it. It's been too long. I can't remember that one. Anyways, Arteta said he's not happy that Arsenal didn't win a trophy this season, so he plans to win trophies with Sterling. Congratulations to Crystal Palace and Arteta for winning his second space trophy, or even second sports trophy. Well, I mean a three-peat. It's not easy. If easy, run out, as they say. AY Oniro says, this season has become a year of the first. Harry Kane, Bologna, Crystal Palace already settled. Hopefully, PSG, Tottenham, and Real Betis will join the party as first-time champions as well. And Moses says, you think Inter bottled. What about Ajax? They gave up 8 points or more with only 4 games to go. PSV are champions. Actually, they gave up a 9-point lead in the space of 4 games. They needed only 6 points from their last 5 games of the season, and they managed to mess that up. How? I honestly have no idea. Really and truly. Tayo says, Obantala accepted my United sacrifice. Congrats to Simon. We need to get him out of Turkey. It's becoming too nice for him. Should it not be nice, Tayo? Calm down now. Crystal Palace coach is a solution provider. If Rodri was on that pitch, he too would collect. Nketiah left Arsenal to win a trophy. Leave Arsenal and succeed, you've been told. Is Man United an underdog for Europa? At this point in time, with all that's been going on, perhaps, Tayo, perhaps. And Samuel from Uludia Papa says, with Inter traveling to Como this weekend while Napoli hosts Cagliari, I'm afraid Napoli has won the Scudetto. It's still too early to tell. Let them play the game first now. Simon, let's let them play the game first and we'll see. Chidozie says, how Tega said there was no progress. How about now? Is beating Madrid home and away not progress? How many teams can do that? Let's give Arsenal their props are big. Okay? If they say it's progress, I guess. And on to YouTube, Uchenna Okoye says, Syria going down to the wire. City dealt a lovely blow by Palace. Is Pep still the best coach, or he can only do well with what he has at his disposal, just like most good coaches? United, oh yeah, I hear you. Padre Pio says, the City bottling was the most unbelievable. How did they manage not to beat Palace? But for us, it was good to see Arsenal keeping Chelsea in the game, but not lie. Richard says, good morning. It's going to be a great weekend. No banter from Mama T. Have yourselves an awesome week, guys, and keep doing great job. Um, the Padre says, Ayo, please explain why your coach played his full squad if he could not beat that silly Chelsea team. James turned Ganacho like Eba to set up that goal. The last game week is fun to see. Padre, if you ask me why he started everybody, if you ask me, who will I ask? Who? I don't know what goes on in that man's head anymore at this point in time. Let the season just end ASAP. I need to rest. And Adifemi Mafe says, scenario, London teams, Spurs, Chelsea, and Crystal Palace all winning a trophy in the same season. The Arsenal won nothing. It will be a very long, noisy summer for Arsenal fans. True. That is very true. Chelsea in the Conference League final, Palace already done. Tottenham could also win the Europa League. Man, to be an Arsenal fan in England right now, I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, thank you so much for all the messages and thank you for keeping it tuned to the locker room on Smooth 98.1. We'll be back on Wednesday morning at 8:15 for another round of great sporting action. Until then, keep it tuned and don't go anywhere. The Smooth Breakfast will kick on. 9 o'clock will be time for a conversation on Lagos Talks.